That being said, what's next for Colby Covington? He's lost twice to Kamaru. One was kind of close, right? One was kind of close. I heard Kamaru, he was doing before the weigh-ins, they have a fighter come out and do a Q&A, and someone said, if Colby wins, would you give him another title shot? And Kamaru goes, would you guys like to see it? Do you think who thinks Colby won that fight when I went to decision? He goes, who thinks Colby won that fight? And the crowd started cheering. He goes, this is why I'd fight him again. I'll make it very clear that I'm way better than Colby Covington. So I don't think it's next. Obviously, Leon Edwards is next. And I know Kamaru Usman says he wants to be active this year. And he also wants to fight with Canelo, which I just don't see happening. He said Canelo's team was kind of into it. I just don't see that happening. I love, and this is what makes Kamaru Usman so great, his mentality. He goes, I believe I can stop him. I don't care what you guys think. If I believe it, I don't care what anybody else says. And that's why, he's the pound for pound GOAT right now. So I would watch Colby and Kamaru Usman fight every Saturday night. I'll do a fight campaign every Saturday night if I could for that fight. So I just don't think the UFC is going to do that next. So I think Colby knows that's not next, right? Because obviously he's fighting Leon Edwards. So Colby, being Colby, called out Dustin Poirier. When I first heard the call out, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. It makes sense. It's a big fight. For Colby, it's like you're ranked number 2. You're ranked number 1 in the world. You're by far number 1. So you can do one of two things. You can go for the big money fights. Masvidal was a money fight, and there's bad blood there. Dustin Poirier is a money fight. Doesn't make a lot of sense because you beat Dustin Poirier. He's still just the number 1 170er in the world. But you guys have that ATT bad blood. But you just did that. So you could do it again, and the gym rivalry and stuff like that. And I know Dustin Poirier is tells him it's on site. He can't stand him. He goes, I see you, we're gonna fight in the streets. I don't want you to get paid off me. But I think money does talk, so I think UFC could throw some money Dustin Poirier's way. But I'm with Dana, and Dana goes, let's say we make that Dustin Poirier fight, then what do we do? Dustin Poirier's not at 170. So then what do we where's it put Colby? I think Colby's like, I'm number 1, dude. I'm not trying to fight guys who are lower. The only argument there, if you're a purist too, you don't like these weird super money fights, right? You don't like these kind of Super Bowl-ish, super fights. So I think if you look at the division, there's a lot of formidable opponents, man. There's a lot of guys who he hasn't fought. Vicente Luque, Muhammad have to fight. The winner of that, I would assume, is right there. And then again, to me, Colby Covington should fight the winner of Khamzat Gilbert Burns. That's the fight. That's as a pure standpoint, as a if you want to keep the game pure and you want to do what's right, Khamzat is undeniable. And if he were to, I think he fights April 9th on the next pay-per-view. He's the 3rd fight on that main card. If Khamzat were to just absolutely storm through Gilbert Burns, he's going to jump to number 2 in the world. And for Colby, it's going to be tough to ignore him then. And the UFC also realizes that they have something in Khamzat. He's kind of your next coming of a Conor McGregor, Khabib-ish kind of a blend. He's a monster, dude. And I do think he starches Gilbert Burns. I really do. And if he were to do that, I think Colby's going to be forced to take a Khamzat fight.